Okay, here we have two functions, and given these functions, find their inverses. So example one, we have y equals 6/8 times x plus 5, whereas example two, f of x equals 7x squared. All right, pause the video and see if you try it on your own and see if you can get the answer. All right, so here you go. Let's try these out. So what we're trying to do is basically undo this function, so we'll kind of unpack it. We're going to subtract 5 here, because instead of adding, we're going to subtract. Okay, so now we have 6/8 x, and to get rid of that. So I'm going to multiply the whole thing by 8/6. So let's see here. We're going to distribute whoop, 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 into each term. Let's see, 8 times negative 5 is negative 40 all over 6. And then we get 8/6 times 6/8 was just 1, because we get 8 times 6 is 48, divided by 6 times 8, which is also 48. I'll show that, because I'm going to reduce this again. There we go. 48 over 48 is 1x. And then I'll reduce this as well. Let's see. A 2 goes into both. I'm going to factor out the 2. Whoops, I had an extra negative there. So it should be negative 20 over 3. And I'll take 3 out of here as well. Or excuse me, 2. So we get 4/3 x. Great. So now we get, here's our function. This is, well, actually, I should clarify something here. Generally speaking, the x is our input value. And so here it's the y. So convention has it, we have the x as the input, so we're just going to swap these. And because this is the inverse of this function, well, we'll talk about that in a moment. But here, here's our inverse function of this function here. All right, let's give this one a try. Now that you have an idea, if you want to pause again to try this one. So f of x equals 7x squared. So let's try this out. Let's see. Well, geez, there's no y value. But remember, f of x is more or less the same thing as y. It's just the output. So I'm just going to write it as y equals 7x squared. And then we just kind of, let's see, here we seem to isolate the x or solve for x. Let's do the same thing here. Divide by 7. Okay. And then let's see, to undo a square, we square root. Great. And then let's see, square root and square goes away, so we have x is root y over 7. Like that. Great, so there's that. But then remember, we swap the x because and y, because conventionally x is the input. So I'm just, I'll just save space and go like this. All right, so there's our function now, but I want you to get used to inverse notation. So this is how we're going to talk about it. So now f inverse of x equals root x over 7, which is the inverse of f of x, which is 7x squared. There we go. All right, I'm going to put 2 more up here, and we'll see what we get. All right, so here are 2 more. Pause the video, give them a try, and see what we come up with. All right, so let's go ahead and tackle these. So to find the inverse of these functions, we isolate x. Instead of g of x, I'm just going to write it as y. All right, so we're going to subtract 10, 8x. All right, now we're going to divide by 8. Great, so there's my function, but then remember we swapped the x and y because our y is our x is our input. And this is our inverse function. There we go. Here's g inverse. All right, for this last one, I'm going to rewrite it where h of x is y, just easier for my brain to handle. And we're going to subtract 7. All right, then we're going to square each side. Okay, so we squared this side to get rid of the square root. That cleared this up. And then we're going to add 10. Great. All right, so something I want you to notice is I rewrote this as x minus or y minus 7 squared times itself, and then I added 10, and that got x by itself, which is good. That's what we want. But let's go ahead and multiply these out. I'm going to multiply these together, multiply each term in the binomial by the other term. So y times y squared, y times negative 7. Is negative 7y. Negative 7 times y is negative 7y. Negative 7 times negative 7 is positive 49. Plus 10 is x. All right. Then let's see. Start combining things. There's no y squared other than this one, so it stays. This is negative 14y. And then here we have, let's see, 49 and 10 is 59 is x. But remember here, we swap out the x and y because generally x is our input. All right, so here we go. Here's the inverse of h. X squared minus 14x plus 59. Good catch there, Southam. All right, so there we go. Given these functions, find their inverses, and we did. All right.